Static filled the screen. Then came a broken voice, barely audible. A soldier was breathing heavily, coughing, and trying to speak through the crackling sound. "They're here. They're not like anything we've faced before. Don't come. Looking for us. Save Earth." Then, silence. No image, no reply. Just the quiet hum of deep space. That was the last signal anyone ever heard from Colony 9. For years, the galaxy had been mostly at peace. After centuries of war and chaos, the Galactic Federation had built something close to stability. Humanity had earned its seat at the table. Even though some alien races still saw them as the newcomers, Colony 9 was one of Earth's farthest outposts, a mining and research colony set deep on the edge of known space. Then, without warning, it vanished. No ships, no debris, no distress beacons, just that one final, terrifying message, and then nothing. The Federation labeled it an accident. Some said it was a wormhole collapse. Others blamed a reactor failure. They all offered guesses, easy answers to help people sleep at night. But not everyone believed the lie. Captain Elias Rourke, commander of the human ship Valkyria, knew something was wrong. He had served at Colony 9 5 years earlier. He knew the people, he knew the systems, and he knew that nothing about the disappearance made sense. His requests to investigate were denied. Again and again, the Federation shut the door. Let it go. They said, focus on your current mission. But Rourke couldn't. He saw something in that final signal, something others missed. Fear. Not panic, not confusion, real fear. The kind that only comes when you're facing something you truly don't understand. He pulled up the last known coordinates of the colony. His crew watched as he stood in silence, staring at the blinking star map. "We can't just ignore this," he finally said. "I'm not asking you to follow me. I'll go alone if I have to." But the crew didn't leave him. They trusted him. They had seen what he'd done before. If he believed there was something out there, they believed too. Valkyria changed course and went dark, masking its signal. It left its patrol route and slipped into deep space, toward the ghost zone where Colony 9 once stood. The trip took 2 weeks. They passed empty systems, long-dead stars, and strange radiation fields. As they got closer, equipment began to malfunction. Lights flickered. The ship's AI went silent for 3 full minutes, then came back online without explanation. "We're not alone," one of the engineers whispered. "I can feel it." When Valkyria finally reached the sector, the entire area was wrong. There was no debris, no remains, no asteroid belts. It was like the system had been erased, clean, silent, dead dot, and then they saw it. A shadow, not on the radar, not on the cameras, just outside the ship, something big, something slow, moving in the dark like a ghost. The crew stared into the blackness, but nothing was there. Then the alarms went off. Symbols, unfamiliar, glowing, appeared on every screen inside the ship. Not written language, not digital code, just as symbols, moving, shifting, almost alive. The lights dimmed. The engines dropped power. The air got cold, as if the ship itself was afraid. "Pull back," Rourke ordered. Now, the pilot tried, but the ship wouldn't move. It was like something was holding them in place. Then, across the comms, a voice, not human, not alien, just a sound that felt like it had no source at all. "You should not have come." Everyone froze. The sound stopped. The lights returned. The ship broke free. Behind them, the shadow disappeared. Rourke didn't speak. He looked at his crew, then back at the stars. He knew what this meant. Colony 9 hadn't been destroyed by nature. It hadn't malfunctioned. It had been taken. And whatever had done, it was still out there. Waiting. Asterisk. The crew of Valkyria sat in silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The sound they'd heard still echoed in their minds. It didn't come through the comms like a normal signal. It felt like it came from inside the ship, or inside them. "You should not have come." Captain Rourke replayed the message again and again, searching for meaning. The voice didn't match any known alien race. The frequency was outside normal ranges, almost like it wasn't meant to be heard with ears at all. One of the scientists suggested it could be a warning. Another thought it was a trap, but none of them could explain how it reached them. or why their systems had shown no trace afterward. "We came here looking for answers," Rourke said quietly, "and we found something that doesn't want to be found." That night, the crew couldn't sleep. Those who did had strange dreams. Some saw lights twisting through space. Others heard voices whispering numbers and symbols. One crew member woke up screaming. He said he saw Colony 9 burning, but in reverse, as if time was being pulled backward. In the morning, Valkyria picked up a trace signal, weak, unstable, but definitely artificial. They followed it across the system, toward a moon that wasn't on the charts. As they got closer, they saw ruins, not human, not alien, just bold, worn down by time, covered in black stone with the same strange symbols they saw before. The air around the moon was still, no energy, no radio, no movement, yet something felt alive. They sent down a probe. It landed near the ruins and began scanning. Then the feed went dark. No explosion, no interference, just cut off. Then the power flickered again on Valkyria. Lights dimmed. Gravity shifted. For a full 10 seconds, the ship felt like it was falling, but they were still in orbit. When systems returned, the probe signal came back for just 1 second, long enough to send an image. The crew stared at it. A tall, thin figure, no face, no armor, just pure black, standing at the center of the ruins, staring at the camera. Then it was gone. No one spoke. Back in the lab, one of the scientists tried to analyze the symbols from the ruins. He ran them through the database: human, alien, ancient, coded, even math-based languages. Nothing matched, except one. He found a similar pattern from over 100 years ago, discovered on a drifting ship that had no crew and no memory logs. That ship had vanished after being towed into a research station. The station itself exploded 2 days later. The case had been buried. Rourke felt a chill run down his spine. "They've been here before," he said. The crew looked at him. "This isn't the first time. We just didn't notice." Suddenly, proximity alarms triggered. A vessel appeared behind Valkyria. It didn't move. It didn't signal. It just watched. It was huge, built from materials the ship couldn't identify. No heat signature. No engine trails. Just pure mass, like a chunk of night itself floating in space. Then came the symbols again, flashing across the screens. The same warning. "You should not have come." The engines began to die. Shields dropped. The AI shut down. They were helpless. Then a crew member, Ensign Mara, had an idea. She pulled out an old, analog console, not connected to the main systems, manual code only. She ran a pulse. The alien ship reacted, slightly, just enough for Valkyria to reboot one engine. Rourke shouted, "Punch it!" They jumped to light speed. Not a full escape, just enough to break the hold. Everything went white. When they stopped, they were in a nearby system, quiet, cold, empty. They had escaped, but not really. The ship was damaged. Systems were unreliable. And now they knew something terrifying. This enemy didn't use weapons. It didn't speak or show its face. It simply appeared and erased. And somehow, it was watching. Rourke stood in front of the crew. "We've seen something no one else has. If we go back now, the Federation will bury it. They'll ignore it, like they always do. But we know the truth." He looked out into the dark. "This thing, whatever it is, has already destroyed colonies, and it's not done." He tapped the navigation panel. "We're going to find out what it is, and we're going to stop it before it reaches Earth." Valkyria drifted through space, quiet and damaged. Sparks flickered from one of the panels. The AI system was still rebooting. Half the lights were offline, but the crew was alive. Captain Rourke stood in the command room, staring at the star map. The alien ship was gone, but the fear it left behind stayed with them. No one knew what to call it. No name, no race, no language. Just a silent force that erased everything it touched. The crew started calling them the Null. They had no heat, no gravity fields, no signals. They didn't fight. They just showed up, and then things disappeared. Rourke decided to keep moving. They followed the old trade routes, visiting planets that had lost contact recently. Official reports said equipment failure or supply delays. But Rourke no longer believed those excuses. The first planet they visited was called Pharaoh's Prime. Once a mining colony, it was now silent. They scanned from orbit. No power, no movement. The cities were intact, but no one answered. It looked like every person had simply vanished in the middle of their day. Cups still sat on tables, lights were still on, but not a single soul remained. Rourke led a team to the surface. They walked through empty streets. No signs of struggle, no damage, just a silence. Then they found something strange, a message, burned into the metal wall of a government building. Not written, burned, with perfect edges. Like it had been cut with pure energy. It was in an alien language, but the translator worked just enough to give them to words. Chaos ends. Back on the ship, the crew tried to make sense of it. They think we're chaos, Mara asked. They see life as a problem to be solved. No one answered. But deep down, they all felt it. The Null weren't destroying life out of hate. They weren't angry. They were cleaning, like someone wiping dust from a table. The next planet was worse. It wasn't just empty, it was dead. Black marks covered the ground, like burned scars stretching for miles. Buildings were melted into strange shapes. No bodies, no remains, just ash. They found a single survivor, hiding underground, half mad with fear. He was from a bird-like alien species, once known for their advanced science. Now he was all that was left. They don't speak, he said, shaking. They don't talk. They don't stop. Rourke sat with him, trying to get more information. The survivor described lights in the sky. A strange sound, like metal tearing through glass. People began to disappear, one by one. Not killed, just erased, like they were never there. They didn't come to fight, he whispered. They came to fix, Rourke asked. Fix what? The aliens stared at him with wide, hollow eyes. Everything. Back on Valkyria, the mood was heavy. The crew had seen death before, but this was different. It felt bigger than war, bigger than survival. It felt like the end of something none of them understood. Then a signal came through, weak, old, buried, under layers of static. It had been looping for months. It was human. They boosted the signal and cleaned it up. This is Captain Harlan Drake of the Venture. We encountered something. We don't know what it is. We've lost half our crew. We're hiding near the dead zone. If anyone hears this, stay away. Don't try to fight them. That was the last transmission. Rourke looked at the coordinates. It was a zone the Federation had blocked years ago after a star collapsed. They called it to dangerous, marked it as off-limits. Now he knew why. The Federation knew. They've seen them before, Rourke said, and they've been covering it up. He stood up. His voice was calm, but hard. We're going there. The crew stared at him. One of them asked, even if it kills us? He nodded. If we don't go, Earth is next. He tapped the controls, and Valkyria changed course toward the edge of the galaxy. Into the dark, into the unknown, into the place where stars go to die. Because sometimes, to save your world, you have to face what everyone else is running from. Valkyria entered the dead zone. It was a stretch of space where even light seemed nervous. The stars were thin. The gravity fields were broken. Time itself moved strangely here. Some clocks ran faster, others froze. This was where the Federation said a supernova had torn reality apart. But that wasn't true. The crew of Valkyria had seen enough to know better. The Null had been here. The ship passed a shattered moon. Cracks ran across its surface like veins. Strange shapes were carved into the rock, deep, wide. Not made by any tool they knew. They saw no life, no signal. Just a strange static in the background, soft like a whisper just out of reach. Mara leaned over her console. There's a signal ahead, deep under the radiation belt. Rourke gave the order. As they dropped lower, the signal became clearer. It wasn't human, but it was familiar. The same symbols. The same pattern. But this time, it wasn't a warning. It was a question, a single phrase repeated in broken digital sound. Do you accept correction? The crew looked at each other. What correction? Someone asked. Are they testing us? Said another. Rourke stared at the screen. His jaw tightened. They think we're broken, he said. They're trying to fix us. They followed the signal to the remains of a human vessel, the Venture. The ship from the old distress call. It floated near a dead star, broken and quiet. Rourke led a team aboard. Inside, it was dark, cold. Frozen food still sat on the mess tables. Beds were made. Lights blinked, slowly draining what little power was left. They found signs of a fight, deep scratches on the walls, burn marks near the airlocks. But no bodies. They reached the bridge and found the black box recorder. The last moments of the venture played out on screen. Captain Drake was shouting. They got inside. Not physically, something in our systems. They're rewriting us, minds, memories. Then, silence. The feed glitched, and for one moment, everyone on the Valkyrie's landing team saw their own faces on the screen, each of them, staring. Blinking. Then the image vanished. Rourke spoke first. We're being watched, not from out there, from inside. They returned to Valkyria in silence. Back on the ship, systems began acting strange again. The AI repeated words it had never used before. Some doors wouldn't open. Lights flickered in perfect patterns, dots and lines that matched the null symbols. Then one of the crew members screamed. She said she saw someone in her room, a version of herself, standing in the dark, silent, watching. But when security arrived, no one was there. Mara ran tests. She discovered that the null weren't just attacking from outside. They had infected Valkyrie's systems through the signal. They were scanning memories, copying behaviors, learning. They don't use weapons, she said. We do the damage ourselves. They just push. The deeper they went into the dead zone, the stronger the presence became. It wasn't just technology breaking down. It was the people. Some forgot names. Some had dreams that felt more real than waking life. One crew member began speaking in a voice not their own. You resist. The voice said through him, but resistance is waste. Order must return. Rourke didn't back down. He gave orders to isolate systems, cut off the AI, shut down comms, anything to block the null. They reached the final set of coordinates from Venture's message. A structure floated in space, massive, silent, shaped like a spiral wrapped around a dying sun. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station. It was a machine. Alive. Old. Waiting. Mara whispered. It's rewriting reality. Rourke felt it too. The air grew heavy. Space seemed to bend around. The structure. The ship's glass twisted at the edges, like space itself was being pulled inward. A final signal reached them. We offer peace through stillness. Accept correction. Join the silence. The crew looked at Rourke. He stood tall. No, he said. Then, he pointed at the structure. We're going to find its core, and we're going to shut it down. Valkyria drifted closer to the spiral structure. It was enormous, larger than any station the crew had ever seen. It didn't spin or pulse. It just sat there, coiled around a dead star like a snake frozen in place. No life signs, no doors, no defenses. But everyone felt it watching. Rourke stared at the screen. That's not a ship, he said. That's a brain. Mara nodded. It's not built to move. It's built to think, or maybe to rewrite. The null didn't need armies. This machine was their weapon, their code, their mind, and it was active. Radiation scans showed energy pulsing deep inside, forming strange patterns. They didn't match any known signal, but the patterns matched something else, human thought waves. It's copying us, said one of the engineers. It's learning how we think. The crew prepared a landing team. Small, fast, analog gear only. No smart tech. No AI. They couldn't risk another system breach. They found a narrow opening in the spiral. Not a door, more like a gap in the machine's surface. It was just wide enough for their shuttle. Inside, the structure was dark. No gravity, no sound. The walls were smooth and black, covered in patterns that shifted when you stared at them too long. Lights flickered under their feet, not bulbs, but pulses in the metal itself, like nerves firing. Rourke, Mara, and 3 others moved forward, weapons ready. But there was no resistance, only silence. Then they found the first chamber. It wasn't a room, it was a memory. Somehow, the walls projected an image, a perfect copy of Earth, cities, trees, people walking on sidewalks, laughter in the air. But there was something wrong. Everyone moved in loops, repeating the same moments again and again, like a video stuck on repeat. Then the scene changed. A battlefield, a nuclear blast, a dying planet. Then another, and another. War, famine, collapse. The Null weren't showing hate, they were showing judgment. This is what they see when they look at us, Rourke said. A cycle, violence, noise, another chamber. This one was worse. They saw Valkyria, but empty. Floating in space, no crew, just drifting forever. The simulation walked them through the halls. Every room abandoned, every console dark. Then, a figure appeared. Not an alien. Rourke. A perfect copy, standing on the bridge, staring back at them. Mara whispered, "It's making versions of us." The fake Rourke turned to face them. Its mouth didn't move, but they heard its voice in their minds. "You destroy yourselves again and again. Correction is mercy." The team opened fire. The image shattered like glass, but the message remained. This wasn't an attack, it was a test. They moved deeper into the spiral. The machine seemed to shift around them, as if reacting to their presence. Mara's scanner started failing. The numbers twisted, repeating backwards. Even time felt strange. They checked their watches. 5 minutes had passed, then 10. Then suddenly, it said only 2. "Keep moving," Rourke said. "Ignore it." Finally, they reached the core, a massive chamber, open to space but somehow sealed. At the center floated a sphere, black, smooth, humming with energy. This was the mind of the Null. Waves of pressure rolled through them. Not sound, not light, just pure thought. And it was speaking. Not in words. In emotion. The fear of death, the chaos of war, the noise of a crowded planet, the confusion of a child lost, the silence after a scream, all fed into one idea: we will fix you. We will erase the broken code. You are not needed. Rourke looked at the core. He didn't flinch. "You think we're chaos," he said quietly. "But chaos isn't failure, it's freedom." He reached for the manual detonation charge. Old tech, no AI. Just a switch. "We don't need perfection. We need the right to try." The sphere pulsed. Reality flickered. Time slowed. But it was too late. Rourke pressed the button. The core exploded with light. The explosion didn't sound like fire or thunder. It sounded like silence, being ripped apart. Inside the Null structure, the blast from Rourke's detonation echoed in slow waves. The light turned to shadows, and the core began to break. Cracks appeared along its surface. Sparks shot out like blood from a wounded heart. But it didn't die right away. It reacted. The walls began to shift, folding in on themselves. The pathways the team had taken started to close behind them. "Move," Rourke shouted. They ran, the structure shaking around them. The energy in the air made their hair rise. Metal groaned. Lights bent. Gravity twisted sideways. Mara tripped, but Rourke grabbed her and pulled her up. "No one gets left behind," he said. As they reached the shuttle, a new sound filled the chamber. A low hum, deep and steady, like a warning. The sphere hadn't been just a machine. It had been a part of something bigger. Something waking up. They launched from the surface, just as the spiral structure began to collapse inward, folding into itself like a dying star. Back on Valkyria, the crew watched from the observation deck. The black coils twisted, then vanished, pulled into a hole in space that didn't exist seconds before. It left no trace, no debris, no light, just a scar in the stars. Rourke and the others returned to the bridge, breathing hard, suits scorched, eyes wide. They didn't speak for a moment. Everyone just listened. The ship was quiet. Systems were stable. No signals. No voices. Nothing from the Null. "We hurt them," Mara said. Maybe for the first time, but it didn't feel like victory. Back in orbit, the stars looked the same. Peaceful, silent. But something had changed, not just out there, inside the crew. One of the engineers, Theo, stepped forward. "I saw something back in the core," he said. "Not a memory. A map." Rourke turned. "What kind of map?" Theo pulled up a sketch he made by hand, old paper and pencil, just to be safe. It showed dozens of spirals. Not one structure. Hundreds. Spread across the galaxy. They weren't alone. Theo said, "That one we destroyed, it was just one part, like a neuron in a brain." Mara's face went pale. "And the others are still out there." The ship's long-range sensors came back online, that they picked up something strange, a signal. Faint, repeating, far from their location. It wasn't like the null's usual messages. This one was different. It was human. A voice, broken by static, but clear enough to understand. This is Captain Harlan Drake. Venture, if anyone hears. This I saw it. They're not gods. They're just afraid. Then silence. The crew exchanged looks. Drake was supposed to be dead. His ship destroyed. But his voice, that voice, was real. Could he be alive? Someone asked. Mara shook her head. Or maybe they copied him. Rourke stared at the signal coordinates. They weren't far, just outside the dead zone. An old research base the Federation abandoned years ago. To quiet, to perfect, a trap. He knew it, but he also knew they had no choice. They've seen us now, he said. We fought back. They won't ignore us again. He turned to the crew. We either chase the truth, or we wait for them to erase everything. No one argued. They set course. As Valkyria jumped to faster than light, the stars stretched into lines. The hum of the engines returned. Life moved forward, but the crew didn't feel safe. They knew something was watching. Not through windows. Not through cameras. Through patterns. Through thoughts. Through fear. Somewhere out there, more spirals waited. More minds. More eyes. And one of them had now seen humanity fight back. They wouldn't forget. And they wouldn't forgive. Valkyria dropped out of faster than light near the edge of a dead system. The stars here didn't shine the same. Their light seemed muted, like it had to fight through something just to reach them. Ahead floated the old Federation research base. It was small, built into the side of an asteroid, half covered in dust and rock. Official records said it was shut down 20 years ago after a failed AI experiment. Now it was active again. Lights were on. Power was steady, but no one answered. Hale's dot, and the signal, the one that sounded like Captain Drake, was coming from inside. The crew gathered in the command room. Rourke stood at the center, staring at the live feed of the base. It's bait, he said. But if we don't go, we'll never know how far this goes. Mara nodded. They're trying to understand us, lure us, copy us, Theo added. What if we flipped it? What if we learned about them? It was risky, but the only way out was through. They suited up. This time, the landing team brought old gear. No smart visors, no neural links. Only analog tools, recorded on film and written by hand. The null couldn't infect what they couldn't read. Inside the base, the lights were warm. The air recycled. Machines hummed softly in the walls. It felt like someone had been living there. Desks were clean. Food trays untouched. Beds made. Then they saw him, Captain Harlan Drake, or something that looked like him. He stood at the end of the hallway, hands behind his back, dressed in a faded Earth Fleet uniform. Welcome, he said, voice calm, eyes empty. Rourke raised his weapon. You're not him. I was, the figure said. Before I understood, Mara whispered, they copied him completely. Voice, memories, personality. Drake's copy walked toward them. I chose peace. You can too. The others, they're waiting. All you have to do is say yes. Say yes to what? Rourke asked. The copy raised a hand. The walls of the base shifted. Screens turned on. Images of Earth appeared. Cities, oceans, children laughing. Then those same places, quiet, empty, clean. No war, no pain, no freedom. We can erase the noise. The copy said, no more hunger, no more fear, no more questions. Theo stepped forward. You mean no more life? The base began to hum louder. Static filled the air. They were inside another null construct, a seed, a test, and it was learning from them in real time. Mara grabbed the recorder. This whole base, it's not real. It's made from memory and signal. The longer we stay, the more it copies. Rourke turned to the copy of Drake. You said we destroy ourselves, but we also create. We build, we fight, we survive. That's the code you don't understand. The walls began to crack. The nulls. Illusion was breaking. The real asteroid base had collapsed long ago. What they were standing in was a projection, a shell. Rourke pulled out a final EMP device. It would fry every system in the area, including their shuttle. But it would also blind the null long enough to escape. Mara hesitated. We won't have power. We won't have comms, Rourke nodded. But we'll have each other, and that's something they'll never copy. He dropped the device. A flash dot, silence dot, and then, dark, the team climbed out of the collapsing shell. Suits battered, eyes wide. Valkyria came to them manually, no autopilot. Guided by the rest of the crew, they left the dead system behind. Behind them, the signal went silent. No more copies, no more whispers. For now, back on the ship, Rourke stood in front of the crew. We're not perfect, he said, but we are real, and that's what makes us dangerous to them. They thought we'd run. Instead, we showed them something they don't have, a soul. The galaxy wasn't safe. The null were still out there. But now, they knew, humanity would not go quietly. Not without a fight, not without fire. And somewhere deep in the dark, the null watched. Learning, thinking. And wondering, what else had they missed?